One reporter asked President Trump a question about his health. The response or lack of one sparked chaos and debate across the nation. You won't believe what happened next. It was a day nobody saw coming. The hospital corridor buzzed with quiet anticipation. Reporters clustered together. Cameras poised, microphones held tightly, and smartphones at the ready. Everyone had been waiting for updates on President Trump's health. Rumors swirling for days, but no one expected what was about to unfold. The air felt thick with tension, a kind of electricity that only builds when history is on the verge of being written in real time. Among the crowd, one reporter's curiosity had reached a boiling point. She had been covering politics for years, but today felt different, personal, almost impossible to ignore. Her eyes tracked every movement in the corridor, her mind racing with the questions millions of Americans wanted answered. Cameras were rolling, phones were streaming live, and social media feeds were already lighting up with speculation. But the moment that followed would shock everyone present. Suddenly, President Trump appeared at the far end of the hallway. He was flanked by aides and security, walking with that familiar, confident stride that commands attention. The room shifted instinctively. Journalists jostled for position, some whispering, some silently holding their breath. There was a brief flurry of camera flashes, a chaotic buzz of questions ready to be asked, but the first words would come from only one brave voice. Without warning, a single reporter stepped forward, visibly frustrated and determined. Her voice rang out, cutting sharply through the murmurs of the crowd. President Trump, can you respond to the people about... Her question, urgent and unrelenting, hung in the air, like a spotlight illuminating the moment. For a split second, the hallway seemed to shrink. Every eye was on them, and then silence. It wasn't the fiery comeback anyone had anticipated. There was no quick retort, no dismissive wave, no pointed joke to deflect the question. Just silence. Long, uncomfortable, almost deafening. The aides shifted nervously. The reporters held their breath. And President Trump's face betrayed nothing, a calm mask hiding whatever he was thinking. That silence spoke louder than words, turning a routine moment into a historic one. It was the confrontation no one expected, an uneasy pause that would ripple across newsrooms, social media, and living rooms nationwide. The reporter had a point to make, one that had been building over weeks of headlines, political tension, and countless unanswered questions. She wasn't just asking a routine question. She was representing the curiosity, the frustration, and the demand for transparency of millions of Americans. Her eyes locked on President Trump as she took a deep breath, steadying herself, preparing to speak words that many had wanted to hear but hadn't dared to ask so directly. People want answers, she said, her voice firm and unwavering, cutting through the hum of whispers and camera clicks. We need to know the truth about your health and your plans moving forward. The words seemed to hang in the air, heavy and almost palpable. President Trump, a man known for his quick comebacks, sharp retorts, and sometimes confrontational style, stopped mid. He looked at her, then past her, then back again. For a long moment, there was nothing, no response, no gesture, no acknowledgement beyond a measured blink. His face revealed nothing, a calm mask that left the room guessing. Around him, aides shifted nervously, exchanging subtle glances that betrayed their own uncertainty. Security remained rigid, their eyes scanning the crowd, ready for anything, but even they couldn't break the tension that had suddenly gripped the room. The reporter, meanwhile, stood her ground. Her posture was strong, her voice steady, projecting confidence and purpose, and in that act of courage, she became the focal point of the moment. Viewers watching live, or later on social media, immediately noticed the stark contrast. Here was President Trump, a man who had spent decades dominating conversations, controlling narratives, and commanding attention wherever he went, now silent. And here was one reporter, young and determined, challenging him with a question that had been on the minds of millions. Unafraid of the power imbalance in the room, her courage highlighted a core tension in journalism, the relentless pursuit of answers versus the unspoken power of silence. In a world where silence can be just as meaningful as words, This moment captured something rare: a high-profile figure confronted by direct, unflinching questioning, and the unexpected weight of choosing not to respond. It was a scene that would ripple across news feeds, provoke debates, and remind the public that sometimes standing up and asking the hard questions is as impactful as any answer could ever be. Silence, as it turns out, can be louder than words. In that hospital corridor, the moment when President Trump didn't respond carried a weight that no statement could match. Cameras kept rolling, microphones hovered closer, but nothing came. The quiet stretched, becoming almost tangible, leaving everyone in the room unsettled. Analysts and commentators would later describe it as a rare public display of restraint, or perhaps a carefully calculated move. For someone known for dominating conversations, the absence of words spoke louder than any speech ever could. In today's world, where every statement is dissected, analyzed, and replayed second by second across television screens and social media feeds, silence itself became the story. People began speculating almost immediately. Was it intentional? A strategic pause designed to let the question linger in the public's mind. Was President Trump weighing his words carefully before deciding how or whether to respond? Or was it a simple refusal to engage? A moment of quiet defiance that left the reporter, and everyone watching, in suspense. The questions alone became headlines, sparking debates across newsrooms, podcasts, and online forums. Meanwhile, the reporter stood her ground, her posture firm and unwavering. Every eye in the corridor seemed to settle on her, but she didn't waver. She understood something vital. Sometimes the most powerful questions are the ones that meet no immediate answer. In moments like this, silence itself can reveal more than words ever could, exposing tension, intent, and the stakes behind a situation. Her courage to ask the question, and her willingness to remain steadfast despite the silence, made her the center of attention. It was a quiet yet powerful display of journalistic persistence, a reminder of the vital role reporters play in holding leaders accountable. For millions of viewers who witnessed this moment live, or later on social media, the interaction became instantly iconic. It wasn't a dramatic verbal clash, nor a heated argument, but a defining moment that captured the delicate balance of power, transparency, and accountability. It was a lesson in how tension between question and response can carry enormous meaning, sometimes more than words ever could. The silence lingered long after the cameras stopped rolling, leaving viewers to reflect on what had just occurred, on to realize that, in the right hands, a question and a pause can make history. The video of this encounter went viral almost immediately. Within minutes, clips of the tense hallway confrontation were circulating across social media platforms, racking up millions of views. Twitter feeds exploded with reactions, TikTok users created short highlight clips, and Facebook threads filled with comments from viewers dissecting every second of the interaction. People were captivated, not just by what was said, but by what wasn't. Some praised the reporter for her courage, calling her a voice for the public and a symbol of fearless journalism. Others criticized the confrontation as aggressive or confrontational, questioning whether it was appropriate to press a leader so directly in such a sensitive environment. Memes and commentary flooded the internet, reflecting the mix of admiration, humor, and controversy that the moment had sparked. Political commentators and news analysts were quick to weigh in, turning the silence into a subject of debate in newsrooms across the country. Some argued that President Trump's lack of response was strategic, a calculated pause designed to maintain control of the narrative. By not engaging directly, he left the question hanging, forcing the public and media to dwell on the uncertainty rather than on any immediate explanation. Others offered a different perspective, suggesting that the moment revealed vulnerability, a rare glimpse behind the carefully constructed persona of a man who is usually quick with words, retorts, and political maneuvers. The debate didn't stay confined to traditional media. Online forums, comment sections, and live streams became arenas for passionate discussion. People analyzed body language, facial expressions, and the tone of the reporter's voice, attempting to interpret the subtle cues that defined the encounter. Each viewer seemed to take something different from it, For some, it was a lesson in journalistic courage. For others, a display of the power of silence in shaping public perception amid the chaos of opinions and interpretations. One thing became clear. This moment reminded everyone why journalism matters. The reporter didn't simply ask a question. She created a pivotal moment that demanded attention, reflection, and dialogue. In a world filled with soundbites and quick headlines, her actions emphasized that the pursuit of truth and accountability can be just as impactful as the answers themselves. This encounter became a defining example of how courage, persistence, and timing can transform a simple question into a moment that resonates nationwide. In the end, the encounter left a lasting impression, not because of the words exchanged, but because of the raw human drama that unfolded in that hospital hallway. It was a moment charged with tension, a collision of courage, silence, and unspoken emotion that held everyone, reporters, aides, security personnel, and viewers, alike on edge. Every camera click, every rustle of a microphone, every subtle glance carried weight, transforming a seemingly ordinary hallway into a stage where history quietly revealed itself. The power of that moment didn't lie in a statement or a rebuttal. It lay in the dramatic interplay of presence, silence, and persistence. For the reporter, this was more than just asking a question. It was a demonstration of bravery. Standing firm in the face of a world-famous figure known for commanding attention, she refused to shrink back. Her courage served as a reminder of the role journalists play: to seek truth, demand accountability, and confront power, even when the odds seem stacked against them. In that moment, she became a symbol not just of perseverance, but of the idea that one voice, raised with conviction, can cut through the noise and create a moment that captures the public's imagination. For President Trump, the silence was a calculated pause, a decision to withhold words while allowing the tension to speak for itself. It was a moment that reminded the public of the subtle power of restraint, and how sometimes saying nothing can generate as much impact as a statement, whether intentional or instinctive. That pause added layers of meaning, inviting speculation, debate, and reflection across the nation. For the public, it was a chance to witness history unfolding in millions of viewers saw, in one fleeting moment, the delicate balance of courage, strategy, and human emotion. It was an unplanned lesson in how drama can emerge even in the most ordinary places, how a simple hallway, a single question, and a pause can become iconic. So, the next time you encounter a moment of silence, whether in politics, in life, or on social media, remember this story. Silence is not empty. It is full of meaning, tension, and possibility. Sometimes, the quietest moments carry the loudest messages, teaching us that courage, persistence, and careful observation can reveal truths that words alone could never convey. Moments like these remind us that history doesn't always arrive with a bang. Sometimes, it arrives in the pause,